It's very difficult to explain. How can you explain feelings? That feel from the hurley, it runs up along the handle, into your hand, and really into your soul.
Hurling is very close to home. It's very personal.
Life should be about dreams. If someone is your hero, you dream of being them.
Nobody owns hurling. Hurling just lives.
It's in your heart. You can't live without it, really. It's part of your pulse, almost.
It's our DNA.
It's part of what we are.
For me, where I was born in Fecal in East Clare, the roots of hurling went so deep within the community that, apart from the church at that time, it was the greatest unifier of the people within the parish. And the strange thing about being born in Clare at that time was it had no tradition of winning, and the older generation had no aspiration towards winning. This was the terrible thing about it.
There was a very serious kind of inferiority complex in Clare. In 90 years of the GA, Clare had only been in 5 Munster finals.
This is a line ball to be taken by Ger Lucknow.
When I was in my early 20s, we were in 3 Munster finals in a row. But something always went wrong.
Joe shot dangerously near the... Oh, it's been knocked in by Sean Stack, unfortunately, knocked it past his goalkeeper, Seamus Durang.
I grew up watching the Clare team in the 70s. Clare were so close to getting there.
But when you expected most from them, there was some hoodoo. There is a hoodoo, no matter what we say, we pretend there isn't, but there is.
There's only one team can win, and that's Cork. We're still a very young team. Just a few fellas that, mightn't last the pace over the next few years. But we were beaten before. I'm telling you, we're going to be back again.
They just couldn't win that Munster title. And one of my driving ambitions when I started to play was have to win one of them, have to get one of them.
Munster finals, huge days.
Homer would have no trouble understanding a Munster final. He'd have a gala time, he'd write another Odyssey. It has a vast lore. When people couldn't afford to go to Dublin, they could afford to go to Thurles.
No matter where it is played, in Limerick, Thurles, Cork or Killarney, the romance of a Munster final is unique.
You'd be heading off after 9 o'clock mass, and of course you'd have a bundle of sandwiches.
Lemonade, flasks of tea, and of course my uncle and a few of the smart boys always had baby powers in their pocket. It's a small little baby power.
And you were set up for the day then.
My holiday growing up, and it made my summers, was going to see Cork senior hurlers up in Thurles.
What is it that brings over 55,000 people to this iconic stadium in Thurles?
Cork chants like ought to be a rebel.
There are days that I dreamed about. To be able to take part in one of them, the buzz, the noise, the atmosphere, it doesn't stop.
because everyone likes to win an All-Ireland medal, but you have to win in Munster first, which was a very hard job in our time.
To win a Munster medal, you know, you earn it. I won 5, I think, and you really earn them. There's tough hurling. Limerick were tough, Waterford were very good, very slick, Cork were always tough and good, and Clare.
20 years later, Clare's status within the hurling community remained very much the same.
Munster had been the hoodoo.
I remember 93 and 94, we got hammered in Munster finals.
23 points for Limerick, 10 for a disappointing Clare.
We were chokers and kind of we were just a disaster. Like, that was really the way I felt about it anyway, and I got that off a nice few people, to be honest.
Tommy Guilfoyle, we haven't seen too much of him so far, puts the head down, inside here, goal shot, stopped by Joe Craig from...
To get so close and still not get there, you know, to get so close to the line and still not get over the line.
Len Gaynor on the right, a resigned look at his face. Sherlock Mann, who seems poised to take over as Clare coach.
I was totally determined to get my hands on the Clare team and to do it the way I thought could be successful.
Strike and catch. Come on, put pace on it. Come on, Kieran, come on. Step into the ball. Man in the don't plant the feet.
When I was manager, the very first time we brought all the players in, we just said to them that there's a lot of teams in Ireland that have way better hurlers than we have in Clare. But I said, we guarantee them, I said, and this was totally honest, that there are no team that has as many players of great character as we have here.
He absolutely handed us over to Mike Mack for a winter of training like we never ever did before.
1, 2, left, go left, go left, go left, backwards, 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 4, block the ball.
It was hard to describe.
It was absolutely torture. Like, there was these 5-mile runs and doing sit-ups, press-ups, torturous, like body work.
Lap after lap after lap.
And then all into the cars and over to the hill, where you might go up at 35 times. You'd have looked man at the top, like looking at you, you know. You're too slow, you'll be et again, you'll be the laughingstock of Ireland. He would absolutely savage you, like too slow, faster, faster, just constantly.
You know, there's no getting away from the severity of it.
You'd be coming out of the middle with your knees wobbling, your head spinning.
I don't think it was fitness-wise even that we did that for. It was just to show us that Antrim was possible, that our fitness levels were good, but we could do anything. I think in '95 we were going into our 3rd Munster final then, having been beaten in 2.
God, with the work we'd done, we didn't care about crowds. We didn't care about tickets. We were going to put everything on the line, and he'd driven us to that.
This was it. We had to stand up for once and fight.
Welcome to Semple Stadium for the 1995 Munster Hurling Final, one of the showpiece occasions of the sporting year.
But you have to think about it, 63 years since Clare won a Munster final. That's a long time.
63 years, a long, long time indeed.
We knew we could outlast them, we knew we could outfight them, and we knew we could out-hurl them.
We were going to perform anyway.
Inside there. Limerick under severe pressure. pressure. This is PG O'Connell, centre half forward, and he just had enough room to put it over the bar.
You could tell after 10 minutes we were up for this.
This nephew of the great Kerry footballer Ger Parr, grandson of Jackie, is on his way for Clare against Limerick inside here towards Conor Clancy. Stopped somehow, and that's gone wide. But the referee deciding that it's a penalty.
It's strange for a goalie to take it, but it doesn't matter. I suppose if he scores, they'll be delighted.
David Fitzgerald, here's the goal chance for him for Clare. He scored! 28 minutes into the first half. But there's the goal scoring hero, an unlikely one at that, who's given Clare the lead by 1-3 to 5 points. At times Limerick looked a bit lethargic. Number 8 against number 8. Trying to avoid the hook, inside to Quigley. Lovely sidestep. There's a goal chance, and he's kicked it wide. Why didn't he use his stick, you wonder?
Jared, this game is going to go right down to the very end, and it depends on who is the fittest team and who is willing to die out there today.
Outside to the moving forward figure of Jamesy O'Connor. O'Connor dashes forward. Another injection of pace. Short to the grip of the stick, and it's gone over the bar. 5 points from 5 chances.
Like, confidence is everything in life and in hurling, you know, and if you win a bit and you back yourself, you really can do amazing things. Like, and
out comes Conor Clancy, scoring chance once again. It's over. What a goal for Clare! We're inside the last minute. They have a 6-point lead. Fergal Hagerty, aware that he might have been hooked, going for the score. It's there. Clare has certainly overcome. The crowd around the field, they think it's all over. 117 to 11 points. Well, Clare Munster champions. 1932, 1995. They came, they believed, they knew they could conquer, and they've done it.
it was just magic. Absolutely couldn't describe the feeling of seeing, you know, grown men crying, and, you know, seeing people literally crying with joy. And have to say, nearly even talking about it now, you'd nearly be filled with emotion thinking back on it. You know, it's just magic. We had broken the hoodoo.
Clare will be in Croke Park for the All-Ireland semi-final. And if they don't celebrate between now and the end of July, they might even make the final.
I'm alive right now, and this is me being alive.
I think all sports people share this feeling. When you're in full flow, your mind and your physical self are just working perfectly in tune with each other. It's incredible. I don't have that feeling in any other part of my life.
You're running onto a ball at full pace. You're jab lifting, you get it up first time, you have it in your hurl, you make that swing, you connect, bang, net, turn around, yes.
I suppose I had that experience that a lot of camogie players of my generation would have, which was we started out playing with the boys' teams. Just because in a lot of rural areas there might not necessarily have been a camogie team.
We definitely had much better games because of the girls, because instead of going out with a match between, I suppose, 8 versus 8, we were able to go out 15 versus 15.
Like when we were picking teams, you didn't have a girls' team or a boys' team. And really, you picked on ability, like, actually.
I had one season at under 16. The physical differences had become apparent at that stage. When it came to kind of one-on-one physical tussles on the pitch, that was kind of when you started to realise this isn't the even playing field it once was, you know.
So that was, I suppose, a disappointment. And then a number of mothers within the parish got together and, you know, started to formulate a camogie club to give us the opportunity to play the game that we had been playing informally for the best part of our lives. Like.
Great ball! Great ball! Let's get a score! Come on! Well done, Sinead! Great block on you! Well done on you, Paddy! Well done!
Very often it is a case of take it into our own hands.
When he founded the Gaelic Athletic Association, Michael Cusick made huge play about the fact that the association would be open to everyone. But his everyone was male. And there is no suggestion that women should play. None. It doesn't seem to have dawned on anyone. This was absolutely reflective of the place of women in society at the time. It began to change in the late 1890s and early 1900s as a small group of women came to Dublin and were working as teachers or civil servants, and they became involved in the Gaelic League.
And essentially, women of a certain education, so what the GA was becoming in terms of its statement about being part of Irish identity, and the opportunity for them to be part of that was through forming what they called a game of our own, which ultimately became camogie.
Why was it given a different name? Well, of course, the story of the time is the notion that there were games that were appropriate for men. Women, of course, should not be involved in such robust competition.
You know the phrase, we're all standing on the shoulders of others, that absolutely is the case. Iconically, Kathleen Mills from Dublin, who's won 15 All-Irelands, was absolutely pioneering. Like, you start out to be a camogie player, you don't start out to be a role model. And with that comes a certain responsibility.
The victorious team arrived at the city courthouse to a rousing reception from about 2,000 supporters, as the O'Duffy Cup came back to Kilkenny for the 5th year in a row.
For me growing up, camogie just wasn't really in the ether. I think there would be one match broadcast every year, which was the All-Ireland final. And Kilkenny were always in it, so my favourite camogie players were Anne Downey and Angela Downey.
The stars of this team are the Downey twins. Anne, who captains the team,
She lobbed it in the goal.
and Angela, who's described as the Christy Ring of camogie, so great are her skills.
You can have all the skill you want, but you have to use that bit of brain that's up there, and you have to be thinking ahead of where this ball is going to land.
Again, it's Claire Jones taking it out of a ruck of players. Nice ball inside for Breda Holmes. Has lovely fluency in this Kilkenny attack.
Breda Holmes would have done all the donkey work, and all I had to say was, now Breda, and I'd get the pass and I'd bury it like.
They're calling all the shots now, and here's Angela Downey to finish. Oh, it's another goal for Kilkenny.
But Kilkenny's overall experience proved vital in the end, and they pulled away to win comfortably, with points like this from Angela Downey, winning her 12th All-Ireland medal.
I think it's important that future generations will know that this generation of players, for instance, have broken many moulds themselves. Rena Buckley and Breach Corkery, both dual players with Cork, have actually won 18 and 17 All-Ireland medals respectively. Camogie as a sport, I think, is still very much in an evolutionary stage. The game only became 15-a-side in the 1990s.
For the first time, there were 30 players to be introduced as Kilkenny and Tipperary lined up to meet President McAleese in the scorching Croke Park heat.
So if you take that as the starting point of the modern game, if you like, it's still a very young sport.
I often ask myself the question, if I had been a fella, you know, I would have loved to have gone out in Croke Park to just take in that whole atmosphere. But the 12-a-side was a small pitch, so I'm just envious. I would love to have those big goals. And I would love to be tearing at pace with all that space to round somebody, get out in front, round her, take her on, and wham. You know, I would love that sensation. But, c'est la vie.
I have had many captain speeches, and a lot of people would agree with this. I would rate Joe Connolly's speech as the best I ever heard. He didn't forget the emigrants, and he understood that background as well. He included everybody.
Of the 10 of us in our own family, 8 worked abroad along the way. You know, 3 sisters especially spent a long time living in England and out of Ireland. Galway being the decimated county as regards immigration.
How many boys can see their future outside this country?
120,000 Irish people have emigrated since 1981. Many of those have gone to the United States, some quite legally, but the majority as illegals.
Hep, hep! Hep, hep! It was more than a game, if you know what I mean. It was like a drama played out in front of a couple of million looking all over the world.
The hurling landscape remained very much the same right up until Galway made the breakthrough in the 1980s.
People of Galway, we love you!
There was an insurgency there in the 80s and the 90s, that those who were long downtrodden began to shoot up and put their heads above the parapet and say, we are as good as Tip, Cork and Kilkenny, and now we're going to show it.
In this society, every young man wants to own a sports car.
The Ireland I will be representing is a new Ireland.
You know, in the 90s, a lot of things started changing in our society, and the GA was no different. The country started going into a boom period. Croke Park was being built.
You can just see in the upper tier there, as it is right now, the premium seating. The seats on offer at £35 a seat, but that includes a buffet lunch as well.
In 1995, we saw the Guinness sponsorship.
Guinness had come on that year, and they had these big billboards all over the country. Nobody said it was going to be easy. Hell for leather.
Then I was on the very first hurling ad for Guinness. You know, trying to coach the actor at the time to jump up and catch that fireball. Then there was a huge thing with jerseys. So no longer were you dressing up on a Sunday to go to an inter-county match in suits or your best Sunday gear. Now you were dressed in your county colours.
The game got a much higher profile and became much more popular.
A very good night to you. Well, a great moment there.
Through my 30-odd years on the Sunday game, there are times in it when you see a more dramatic change.
And, here comes Taoiseach.
And I certainly saw that in the early 90s when the Sunday game started to go live with games.
The man sitting beside me here, a star of the moment, DJ Carey.
I can assure you I'd prefer to be down there today than I would here, but unfortunately for us, off the beaches, and they're there today.
I could feel this thing changing ground, and you felt the public coming with it as well.
When we won the Munster final in 1995, by the time the semi-final came around, the hype was in overdrive.
By winter and spring of working on the steel and skill of the players.
The All-Ireland thing is new to us, and all you can do is hope that you're able to cope with the situation on the day, you know.
They were the ultimate underdogs, you know, they were the ultimate underachievers, if you like. You know, we played Galway in the semi-final, and then when we won that, you were in the final. So really, by the time the All-Ireland was just gone, manic altogether.
Do you think you'll get a few requests for marriage now at this stage because of this?
Well, it's still a bit young yet, so, you know.
10 years earlier, guys at their age, they were going to London or Boston or Frankfurt, and that changed in the mid-90s, and that all of a sudden you had a full cohort and you had plenty of players to choose from. And people expected to be able to stay at home. They didn't expect that when they left school or college they were going to have to leave.
First time in 63 years that Clare reached the All-Ireland final, and the huge cheer now.
Clare have now eventually arrived with a team to win All-Ireland, which was huge for the game of hurling that Clare could win All-Ireland.
Here's the 65 from Anthony Daly. Where's it going? Over the bar! The captain has put his side in front. Just over a minute and 20 seconds to go.
The normal order was broken.
And Clare are just about to win. They've won! Clare have won the All-Ireland!
It motivated everybody because everybody felt they could win an All-Ireland.
Champions, and Anthony Daly lifts the McCarthy Cup from 1995. What a day and what a year!
Hurling went through probably its best time in my generation. 94, Offaly winning the All-Ireland, 95, Clare winning the All-Ireland.
Wexford then turned around in 1996 and won an All-Ireland.
They've waited a long time. This is what Martin Storey has dreamed about. It's now about the men of 96, Wexford.
It was an era that totally revolutionised the game.
Think of all the joy that 5 or 6 counties, think of the hundreds and thousands of kids that experienced what I experienced as a Tipperary kid. And I'm sure the Galway kids of 88 and 87 remember what that feeling was like too.
I grew up in Cork assuming that Cork's rightful place was at the pinnacle of hurling. That was the assumption we made. And we had some reasonable grounds for it.
Neath the green leafy shades on the vine.
So if Cork don't win the All-Ireland, it's like you're shocked at what happened. It's not like, oh, hard luck. It's like, what happened? What happened to you?
It really does feel like an affront to the natural order. Now, I mean, I can stand back from that and laugh at it, but I can't pretend I don't feel it.
Clare are the All-Ireland hurling champions, and Anthony Daly lifts the McCarthy Cup.
Hurling is always dictated by the winners, the All-Ireland champions usually. And whatever tactics, whatever systems, whatever philosophy they have, every other county team in the country try and play hurling in that way.
Come on, lads, you're not stopping. We're just keeping it off.
Teams knew if you didn't train like us,
you weren't going to beat us, and I think certainly by 98 we could sense it.
Much has been made of the physical fitness of the Clare team.
You were hearing what the likes of Clare were doing, Limerick, Kilkenny were doing, say, on a physical state. But unfortunately for us, that didn't happen.
Once Cork Hurling has been in crisis off the field, players dissatisfied with their playing and training conditions.
We just seem to go backwards. Cork bomb out year after year. It was the physical element that was like leaving us behind.
And Broderick's away, the trademark flick, and he put it over the bar. It's all over. It's the end of the road for Cork.
We just come to the realisation that unless we have the proper materials to prepare with, that we won't see Croke Park ever again. The red jersey was a symbol, it stood for something.
The red and white, the blood and bandage that you'd been brought up to believe in.
So, in 2002, we thought it was right to fight to have standards.
Today the players faced the cameras again, this time to declare they were going on strike.
We believed that the balance needed to change. Everything around the game had changed so much, from the television to the ticket prices to the stadiums to the demands that were being put on the players, and that there wasn't fairness when it came to how players were being treated.
Take the gear issue, for example. I mean, the players are asking for 2 pairs of socks and 2 pairs of shorts. Players have paid €620 of their own money to join gyms so that they can train.
Despite Cork having one of the richest GAA boards with assets in the region of €14 million.
There's a war going on in Cork GAA.
Some of the arguments that we had was very much in the main about putting facilities and structures in place that would enable the athlete to be the best they possibly could.
Fortunately, we got what we wanted. Now, the pressure is on us to deliver.
Number 3 there, that's Donald O'Grady. Just getting a whiz of the magic bottle.
I remember growing up in a club scene whereby you were told something and it was a message delivered from on high.
This is Donald O'Grady.
You said, geez, we better do this. We're just players, these are the guys in charge. If you look back through 50s, 60s, 70s Ireland, the trainer, right, was such a fellow who was elected at a general meeting, and he was the trainer for 20 or 30 years. He was a guy who might have shown a bit of an interest in physical fitness. He may have been in the army for a while. There was very little science to it. No, certainly in this millennium, the last 2 decades, right, as guys became more educated, you're in 3rd level, so you begin to question things much more.
Sharp change, next group in.
There's a lot more knowledge coming in about different sports, and about the psychology of sports, so on and so forth. Today, people talk about player power. If they don't want to do something collectively, it's not going to get done.
Donald O'Grady brought in a mindset about how to prepare at a time when nobody was doing it in hurling.
I made contacts with Munster Rugby just to see what they were doing. Their diet, preparation.
Their sleep recoveries.
Hydration, how important it was. It was professional, but in an amateur setting.
We absolutely bought into that.
Historical, never to be seen tactics are introduced through that Cork team.
The term I used for the way we played was that we maximised possession. That was it, right? That was my mantra, optimal use of possession.
A lot has been made about the likes of short puck outs.
Maybe you could say that Cork changed the way puck outs were looked at.
Now, the goalies in my time, he ran back behind the goal, cocked his leg and tried to hit the ball as high and as far as he could, like the puck fodder.
And started realising that actually most puck outs the teams were hitting, that you were losing.
So we said that give the ball short and play it from there.
It's amazing to see the two cornerbacks, the two wingbacks go literally along the sideline waiting for the puck outs.
Interesting times.
You know, there has to be something in this keeping possession of the ball.
The right ball at the right time.
Quick puck out taken by Donald Cusack. Outside to Shologo Halpin. Sending it down towards his brother Satanta. Catches it well. Taking on his man. Released inside to Niall McCarthy. Cork looking for scores. And McCarthy might provide one, and he does.
Donald shaped the modern game to a huge extent just with that one innovation.
Nowadays, this idea of just leveling the ball is over. So when the goalie has it in his hand, there's nobody marking him, there's nobody going to hook him, he has full control, and it's very rarely in a hurling match that you actually have that level of control. So these guys are finding their man with a puck out, literally inch perfect, 100 miles an hour into a guy's hand, 60, 70 yards away. I mean, the accuracy is just sensational.
Donald Cusack with the puck out, precise.
Innovation. If you don't innovate, you don't grow. And if you don't grow, you won't survive as a team.
So with a young team, with a lot of adventure, with no fear, who are fit, fast and eager, we start to get ourselves back up the pecking order.
They were hitting the ball further, they were taking tackles easier, they were knocking players out of the way. In the tussles, they were winning the tussles because of their leg strength.
Inside, difficult one, Satanto Halpin has it, awkward angle, it's a goal! It's all over, and Cork are the champions! The All-Ireland final of 2004!
So we win 2 All-Irelands in a row, 2004 and 5. This isn't just any team, this is Cork. This is not a lone tradition, but a tradition of winning. It was just like we delivered.
Careless in the heart of Tipperary, outwardly goes about its everyday business. After the work of the day, the men of the county hurling team prepare for the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Final. Running, sprinting, physical jerks, which the players take very seriously.
I would have no hesitation in saying that a team in the 21st century would brutalise a team from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s and the 90s. Would it be a scrap? For sure it would. The guys back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, they don't go down easy. They were bred of sterner stuff back then. But their engine would be topped out and steam coming out of the pistons with 10 minutes to go in the first half.
When I was young, when I was playing, the same sense of physical fitness was not there. I mean, it was a slower game, there's no doubt about that. Strength and conditioning, like there's, where was there a gym? I don't know.
When you hit 16, I suppose it's when you start physically going to the gym, you start physically on the field. Once you hit 19, then it all just hits. And it's everything. You're training 5-6 times a week with your team, and then outside of that, on your own, then you're probably nearly going every day of the week when you're in the county.
Your life revolves around the sport. The dedication that's needed now, if you're not training, you're at a physio, you're doing a recovery session, you're doing plyometrics, you're looking at how you run.
We're just going to ramp the intensity up now.
All right, now we're going strike for 20. Put everything in his hand now. Bit of quality here now. Come on.
We're able to monitor and track player movement, energy levels.
Players now, they want all their stats back, they want all their plays back. They want to see every bar. Can they raise the bar on this? Can they improve on this?
So we're having a short term, right? We want to see your hips get nice and low, decelerate, absorb the force, and then explode out.
It's not just about the field sessions and the matches and the gym sessions anymore. You're visiting nutritionists. You're measuring your hydration levels. All of these things that make it such a professional game in a sense.
So a hurler nowadays is a very fine-tuned athlete, different to all other athletes. You can be 140 meters away from the action, and in less than 1500 milliseconds, you are the action. So you've got to live and breathe and survive and thrive in a combative, incredibly intense hothouse environment.
It's the players still make the GA what it is.
These are amateurs down there. They're playing their hearts out for the love of it. And that's what earns loyalty.
It's a small parish, but all ends was associated with the game. We would have seen the decline in Ballyhale before the motorway, really. The motorway was the last straw, I suppose, as such, and people pass through rural Ireland now and all they see is two ditches. If anyone want to meet and anyone want to socialise, it's in the hurling field it happens now. It's the Shamans is the name of the team. It has developed over the years and become Ballyhale Shamans. It's typical in rural Ireland. All teams are made up of families. My mother and father had 7 boys in a matter of 10 years, so the hurl probably was the first thing that was introduced to us. We were all playing together in the club, and then the club started to become successful. You would be reading each other's game because you would know each other's game.
A dangerous ball. Ger Fennelly. A goal! A goal by Ger Fennelly!
Winning the McCarthy Cup and having a parishioner as captain, this was to us was a major, major dream. And we never thought it would happen so often.
I grew up in Ballyhale. You know, we'd one very famous family who produced 7 unbelievable hurlers. So when I was in, 5th, 6th class, it would start to make a big impression on you. I used to love nothing more being down in the field till 10, 11 o'clock, practicing my frees, practicing my skills, practicing hitting the ball over the bar, and dreaming of doing something amazing. I suppose it was the start of a journey, I think,
Well, the Kilkenny team of the noughties under Brian Cody, I don't think there'll ever be a team or an era to match that in any county.
They became an absolutely irresistible force, the biggest force that I've ever seen in the game.
And it wasn't just one team, but the Cody stamp was on it all the way up.
It's a team sport. You can be asked to do a specific job where you mightn't be seen to be doing all the silky things you're capable of doing, but it's that discipline and that sense of, you sacrifice your game for the team. That's really what separates the terrific players from the good players.
they had between 18 and 20 players of outstanding inter-county ability. And within that, they had at least 3, if not 4, of all-time greats.
And Kilkenny are ready for action.
I think the defining year really was 2006.
Cork were going for 3 in a row, and Kilkenny brought an intensity to that All-Ireland final that day that had never been seen on the hurling pitch before that.
Jared, the tactics around the puck out are amazing. Both Cork midfielders are right out on the wings.
Early 2000s, the tactical play came in, the sharp passing kind of game. But I suppose Brian was very traditional in his ways.
Great pressure by Kilkenny being exerted this time. Comes up here, and that's swung beautifully over the bar by Henry Shefflin. He's got a 4th.
Our approach at the time was you win that ball at all costs. The more courage and the more brave that you can be, that's how to win games.
Ball down into the corner towards Brian.
The key word was trust. Attack the ball, take it on, be brave.
Not just Hickey, but Tommy Walsh in there as well.
Because no matter what happens, we'll back each other up.
The Kilkenny tactics of being in their face this afternoon is having a very, very uneasy effect on the 6 players in defence.
Psychology for us, Brian was able to instill that toughness, that rawness, that mental strength that you do need.
I always compared him, he was like the father back, I suppose, in the 40s and the 50s, where he will never maybe come around and put his arm around you and give you a big hug, but you might see that little smile and you'll know maybe he's happy for this session anyway.
Kilkenny are the All-Ireland hurling champions for 2006.
That was only the start of it. It's from then on Kilkenny developed this real power game.
They just blew everyone out of sight.
You know, you ask people, where would they go back to? Where would I go back to? 2008, that was the prime of my career. We were just at the peak of our powers then, you know.
Has a loose man ahead of him. It's Henry Shefflin, making it look very, very simple indeed.
I can't even remember 5 minutes of that game. I just remember the scoreline. I remember Waterford getting hammered.
Henry Shefflin once again for a Kilkenny team, shooting brilliantly. Not a missed opportunity so far. Here comes Derek Ling.
We just went full throttle all the time. Let's get the next score. Let's win the next battle with my man. We weren't even looking at the scoreline.
Larkin coming through. This is dangerous. He's Eddie Brennan inside.
It's a hard thing to be on the sideline with 80,000 people and you're getting absolutely pulverised. I can remember Kilkenny forwards near me on the sideline without even looking, just turning and just gone straight over the black spot and you're saying, oh,
Opportunity for Fogarty this time. First time stop, second time buried. 2 in a row for Eddie.
I think Kilkenny are an example of going for the jugular.
The final whistle, they beat Waterford by 23 points. The most complete performance in an All-Ireland final that I think I have ever seen.
When you measured against other international teams, their athleticism, their skill levels would measure up against any sport in the world.
They are the first team to do 4 in a row since the 1940s.
The buck stopped with work rate and intensity and spirit, and Henry led from the front with that.
Henry had a savage attitude, like unbelievable work rate, knew what was best for the team, big moments and big games.
Takes them all on, indestructible.
You know, absolutely led the team, almost said to the team, come with me.
Already, tumbling forward, looking for the opening score.
We probably could have had 4 or 5 more years of Henry Shefflin really dominating the game, but for 2 cruciate knees, but for a shoulder injury, but for ankle injuries. But thank God we were in an era where we saw, you know, in my opinion, the greatest hurler of them all.
Shamans is ready, Shefflin is as well. He's got 8 points so far. They need it. It's a net. Henry Shefflin clocks in his 22nd ever championship goal, and it's 119 to 21 points.
I'm fully retired now. Even there, a couple of weeks ago, my hurl, my helmet and my boots were out in the garage where they would always been with the last 12 years in my home place. So I had to take them and put them up into the attic, so And you kind of go, yeah, that's the end of that, you know. The medals, it's now, it means so much because they're always there. The game that I loved and so much enjoy brought me those medals, and when you finish up, I think you can go, wow, isn't it amazing to be part of a game that means so much to so many people.
You go back to what is supposedly the national game. 32 counties. And how many of them play hurling at the top level? About 10.
We're never going to keep surviving if it's always about Kilkenny, Cork, Tipperary, and maybe even just Galway. You need more teams. We need more teams playing hurling.
The urban economy is dominating, and will continue to dominate. The city will pull in and keep young people. And if we want the game to live, the game has to be able to survive in an urban environment.
It's phenomenal now to see boys and girls in Dublin walking around with hurleys. It definitely has a very different image and a far broader following than it did when I was a child.
He bends down, he lifts, he strikes, and it's a goal!
It all goes back to Chris Deering when he said at the end of his career, there's better still to come, and how true it was.
The thing is, the game never ends. And that's it. It's a never-ending game of hurling. It's just like a panorama rolling past you. Great moments, great scores, great moments of humanity.
It goes on, and my grandson is now playing underage for Castlegar, and here we go again, and here we go again.
I'm part of the past in hurling, but having been part of the past, you always look forward to the future heroes, or the future Culcullins, or the future Chrissy Rings, or the future Henry Shefflin.
There's going to be more history. You're going to say, where were you the night the Waterford bridged the 58-year gap? Were you there when Eamon Taft got the goal? Clare got over the line, 95. What happened after Eamon Scallon got sent off in 96? Where were you for Sean Oakes' speech at Squeagle? Where were you for Joe Connolly's speech?
Dead right, comes for John Fenton. Oh, what a brilliant!
Where were you that day for John Fenton's goal off the ground? Where were you for Austin's brilliant goal against Cork?
Austin Gleeson still! Austin Gleeson!
It's going to get better. People need to realise that the game is going to get better.
The thrill of playing the game is still the biggest thrill of all. And hurling, great and all as it is now, as Ring says, there's better still to come.